Hello there, welcome. Today I'm going to look at part two of trying to build a JSON-based API using Servant in Haskell. Last week I basically copied and pasted code out of I think the tutorial to get a very basic API running with a couple of endpoints. And of course I kind of miscopied it, missed a line, and spent a lot of time just being confused, but got something working where I had a couple of endpoints. Let's look at now actually. So we had this basic API with two endpoints, one that returns a list of users and one that captures the name of the user and uses that to look up in our list here, and then returns the JSON representation of a single user. There's not much to it. The data's all static here. These are the two endpoints. Sorry, this is the data. Wait, I'm confused now. This is one of the oh no, okay, sorry. This is the implementation of the endpoints. And then this is the just a helper function which looks up a user based on their name. That's right. And I think it was quite cumbersome actually. I think I used curl to access it and I had to type sort of the full name here, which I didn't really mean to do. And I had to URL encode the spaces, but it basically works. So that's kind of cool. What I want to do today is make it closer to what I'm trying to build. So I'm trying to build an app that I can use for booking time on development environments. So I'm going to change my data model from being users to being something which models environment, and then I'm not entirely sure I'm going to do this, but I think probably we'll have something that represents the environment and something that represents a booking for a period of time over it, and I'll keep track of the user that's booked it and the start and end time, and then maybe an endpoint which tells me the status of the environment, whether it's free or whether it's booked, and if it's booked, when that will change. Ultimately, this should all be in a database somewhere, I think. Probably going to put it into Postgres, but I kind of want to avoid doing that today. So I had a look in the Servant cookbook, and I find this example. It's about using a custom monad, but also the example that they give is using this reader T. State here is not the state monad; it's their it's the state of their application. But what it's basically doing is using an in-memory database to keep track of some books. So I might do something similar of keeping track of the environments, for example, or the bookings or whatever it is I'm going to model first. It uses STM so that we can access this concurrently. I think it's going to be fine. I don't know STM. I haven't looked at concurrency at all in Haskell, but I think the way we use it is kind of straightforward. It's basically putting atomically in front of stuff. Using read tvar here and using new tvar down here when we're setting it up. So probably going to be a lot more copying and pasting from this example to try and get something working that models the kind of data I want. But let's maybe do the custom monad thing first. Sorry, just reading this. You can't use state monad. Yeah, okay. I might do this example first, where I use the custom monad, but I'll use it with the existing user list that I have. And then I'll start to adapt it to represent the data structure that I want. Okay, so after all that, I think what I need to do first, is create some kind of state. So I might just call it state the way they did. And state and it contains a single thing, and this, in our case, is going to be users, and that has a type of, is it tvar list of user? I think that was right, so let me just check that. So its state is the state, and users is tvar list of user. Okay, cool. So let's try putting some stuff in. We don't want to generate field comments. Oh, they're not going to offer to import tvar for me. That's annoying. Okay. I wonder if that means that the language server is broken. It did install a new version today, or is it caused by something else? Let me just put in I'm going to get rid of that. Warning, I'm just going to put a dummy field in here for now. Save that. It's not complaining about the tvar, which is really weird, because I haven't, as far as I'm aware, I haven't included it. Okay. Right, so this is because it gets re-exported by Prelude. Okay. That's why it's not complaining about it, which is probably fine. Okay. Why not use new type? I could use new type, I guess. Let me not do that yet and just live with the warning being there. Okay, so the next thing they do is they set up this monad stack. State is imported. Okay, so let's do really, for now we'll just do excluding state. Is it excluding? Is that the keyword? No, I'm hiding. I'm going to hide state. I got my brackets in all place here. It's actually, I think it's like that. Okay, so now state should be our definition of state. That's cool. And handler, I think we wrote something called no, we didn't. But oh, handler comes from servant. Okay. So we have our app state. What do we do with it now? So our server, let's have a look at this. Server before we just said server user 1. And I think we use this type instead. So this is going to be user API 1 for some reason. Instead of server using server T, and then we're giving it our own monad stack at the end. So you can say server is equal to, and then I presume they just, oh no, it's not. Okay. It's a bit more complicated. So you've got get books or add book, and we want get users. For our current thing, oh my keyboard, nothing's wrong. Single user. So I'll need to write these. So the type of get books is append and then list of books. Oh, because it's returning list of books. Okay. So I'm just going to implement these individually. So we can say get users. It's got a type of append and it's returning a list of user in this case. So get users. And then it gets interesting. Okay, so because append's got reader T, we can use ask to get the state out. We don't have books, but we do have users. Okay. So we get users out, and then we will apply hint user. No, I don't want. Oh, what's it saying? Use reader tvar.io. Okay. And then language server. Is that instead of atomically? It's suggesting use read tvar.io instead of atomically read tvar.p. I'm not going to apply that hint yet. I'm going to try and understand a bit more about what's going on first. Okay, so that should return a list of users. The single user we have here, actually I'm going to down a bit. Single user, delete, paste. Yeah, okay. We're not going to go string to handler user. We should go string to m user, single user, I guess. That feels like what we'd want. And this is going to be a bit different. So we do, and then what are we going to do? Do you know, I'm going to make life a bit easier. I'm going to give users an ID. So the ID for this will be 1, and the ID for this will be 2. And then we'll look them up by ID rather than by name. Just going to change the endpoint as well. So instead of capturing name, we're going to capture ID. Okay, so we have our ID. And what we're going to do here, we are going to, I guess we'll retrieve the users again. I don't know why P, seems like a strange one to, strange variable name. But anyway, we've got our users, and then we can say from maybe, oh, that's right, I hadn't worked out how to return potentially nil. I think I did this in a bit of a rush at the end of last week, so we need to come back to that because it's got this default case that if it cannot find the user, it will just return the first user. Okay, so we can say here find, and then we will use x. So the ID of x is equal to ID. God, that's horrible, isn't it? It's not called ID. Let's call it I. Wow. Let's hide ID in RELUde as well. Might want to flip this around a bit and actually import the things that we need. Don't know. Okay. Actually, I don't want to hide ID. What am I doing? ID is quite a useful function. Let me just rename my identity field. So we'll call this identifier. Down here, we will ask for the identifier of x. We'll say that equal to I. Okay, so that gives me back the result. Oh, I need to give it a list as well. Sorry, that's P in this case. All right. What's complaining about here? It couldn't match list of user. Okay, this is a return type, I think. So we haven't returned it yet. So what we want to do, I guess, is lift.io. You don't need atomically. You. No. Okay. they're not showing an example of returning a single thing, and they're using read tvar here. Can I just return, in this case, like we don't need to, I don't know we need to lift IO. We probably do because that's what Servant wants us to be running under. I'm guessing return U doesn't work there. I could have misguessed, but this is still a problem. Okay, so what's going on here? Here it's saying it cannot match the type. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is not, users is not a list of users, it's a tvar thing. Okay, so I need to do the atomically read tvar in here. Okay, so we can say something like users comes from atomically read tvar B. I can not apply the hint there. Okay, now we can look it up in users rather than looking up in P. It's still okay with my return U, which is nice. So I could guess I could just do this. Return that. Okay. So a few warnings, but we have a couple of things. Okay, just get rid of this because it's been superseded by this server. That'll cause an error later on, but that's okay. It's kind of okay. Okay. So this is interesting. It's just a bit of boilerplate, I guess. Actually, I'm going to grab both these lines, both these functions. So before we define our app in that way, which we're not going to do anymore. So this is exactly the same because we called our state and it's still a reader. This is more interesting. So serve API. Where's my API? I'm not going to call it users API 1. I'm going to call it users API, and then going to change this to user API, and user API is proxy user API. Then run app down here. Okay, so what's going on here? Variable scope API, perhaps you mean app or PI. Where does our API get defined then? Oh, here. They're saying API is proxy that. And what did we say? We said user API. I'll change this one. Okay, and then host server. User API, NTFS, and then server. Where was server? It's up here. Okay, so that's got the endpoints in it. NTFS is this thing that takes initial state and an append and returns a handler just by calling run reader T. Okay. I think it's okay. And then in main, there's another bit of magic into copy, but it's kind of these two lines. I don't know where manager comes in. So I'll get rid of port from here. We'll run it on 8081. I'm not going to get rid of that as well. This manager is not used anywhere, so I'm going to get rid of that because I don't know what it's for. Okay. And then tell me utvar empty list, but not empty list. I'm actually going to start with users. We won't call this initial books, we'll call this initial users. Okay, if I put it back to being an empty list, oops, it compiles. So what is users? It's nothing, it's users 1. Users 1. Okay, so lots of warnings, doesn't like the way I'm using atomically, but apart from that, it seems to not have any type errors, so that's good. It'll probably compile, so it's going to be amazing. Let's give it a go. So B to build. Fast and pedantic. Okay. Right, so maybe I should have made it pedantic. Did list lookup has not been used. What else? I'm shadowing users. So where have we defined users in here? We have got oh, there, that's the function users. Okay. Right, so can we do that? We cannot do that, that's not helpful. I just type it. So users. I'm getting those errors. Users. Try building it again. Seems it works. Okay. So in theory, I can bring up a terminal and I can say stack run. And it says running. Okay, I'll break another terminal. And I can use curl. And just look at all the users. That still works, that's cool. And I can go users 1. Cool, and then users 2. So that's great. Oops, no, it's not there, it's here. Okay, so we've made the code more complicated, but we have also made this kind of database, which I think is cool. I would like to rename state, I think, to DB, because it's simulating a database. I don't want to include that one, so let's not do that. So if I search for state, no, if I search for state inside here, that should be the ones I want. I'm going to change this to DB. We no longer need to hide state here. But we want to anyway. Okay, that should still work. Just quickly build it, make sure it compiles. Cool. I'll apply the hint here. Oh, there's something wrong with this new version of the language server plugin, because it's not giving me the hints properly. It's just saying generate field comment. Yeah, that's annoying. Is it as simple as just changing that to new type? It is. Okay, that's one less warning. Make sure it still builds. Cool. So the next one here is using nothing. Hint that doesn't work. Okay, so read t var. Okay, apparently that is okay. T4IO. Okay, does that still build? It does, so we can run the task. And we can requery it again. Cool, when I requery it for 3, I get Albert line time back. Okay, that's cool. What should we do next? So I could either do handling the maybe, or I could look at the get endpoint to update the database. I might do the get endpoint actually, because that's in this example. We need to work through this example first, and then we can come back. Okay, so add book. Where is our API? Up here. So you can say, or users is request body JSON user, and then it's post created JSON that will return the user we created. The user that we created. Okay. So now we need to implement that. Do we get a warning? Yeah, we do get warnings. It's really cool. Create user. So we need to go and write. So create user is what we're going to do is a user to append user. So create user u is I presume we need to get the database back like this, and then there's some kind of write tvar. I don't think that's going to work. I should probably look at the example, see how they actually do it. Write tvar p.book colon. Okay. Interesting. So this is, the colon is just appending to a list, so it's appending book. It's partially applied appending book to something, and then it's joining that to P by the looks of it. And that's what's being written. Interesting way of doing it. I wonder if that's different from write tvar and then just book colon P. Oh yes, because P is not a list of books, it's the tvar containing the list of books. Okay. So they had is that the operator for the person wearing a mask? I don't know if you tilt your head. Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? It's quite a cool mask. It's more like a duck beak though. I think it's Haskell for somebody quacking. Maybe it's a duck wearing a mask. Okay, so what do I do? Read. Oh, this is interesting. So it's atomically, and then it's these two things without the IO. I wonder if I want to do that actually. Probably say, why not use modify? Okay, so they do all of that, and then they lift IO it. Lift IO atomically, read the thing and write the thing. Read T-bar P, write T-bar P, and then our new user. Okay, there's some kind of error there, and we're going to return you. Doesn't really an error. Okay, so that looks like it should add a user. It weighs the same as a duck. Yeah, it obviously that's a which operator then. Probably how it's pronounced. I was going to conditionally set you. No, not set you. Set the ID of you as it comes in, but maybe I won't do that yet. Little steps. Okay, no instance from JSON user. Where are we deriving? From JSON user. It's like magic. Cool. Just make sure that still compiles. Run it again, and then this is going to be a test of how well I can remember curl. So let's make sure we can get our users back. Okay, so we can say curl minus x post. Oh gosh. Minus d. Do we just give it like the string containing? Oh, it's going to be horrific. Let's give it a single quoted string. So we can say something like email. What about email? I don't give it partial record. Whatever. Age is 1. Identifier. Oops. Is 3. And name is Lucky. I don't know how that's going to work. Localhost 8081/users. Oh, we need to tell it's JSON. So minus H. Actually, maybe we don't need to tell it's JSON. We might need to tell curl it's JSON. Go on, give me more the answer. So it's close. So minus D was okay. I think X post is the same as request post, and then the header is application JSON. I don't know if I need to do that, but let's do it anyway. Oops. Application JSON. Is that the content type? No, I actually need to say content type. So its content type is application JSON. Let's give it a go. It gave it back to me, and it put it in. Oh my god! I'm a little bit surprised that worked, but that's cool. I'm actually more surprised I got curl right rather than the code, but cool. Okay, so we can now post to our endpoint as well. That's cool. It's only 35 minutes past. We're doing well. I'm just going to improve these. I'll make these imports more explicit. Not sure about that. I'll leave really as it is. Okay, I'm going to change the type of this. So this get endpoint, I want it to be a maybe user. To let me type. Okay, maybe just fix the type errors as we go and see if it just magically works. So this single user is append of maybe user. Oops. Okay, and then we don't say from maybe, we could just say find. So what happens now when the type errors have gone? Okay. I do like the idea of keeping it clean, but it is a bit annoying when I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I wanted that. Let's run Bookie again. And come over here, we've presumably lost our ducky user. Yeah, so what happens if we try and get it again? You get null back. I guess that's a reasonable response from a JSON API. Just literally the word null, but that is valid JSON though, isn't it? Okay. Oh, that was fierce. Okay, cool. So I have now written. This is horrible, actually. But anyway, I'm going to get rid of that because there's just too much being imported. We have endpoints now, okay, for listing users. So all users, getting a single user if it exists, and getting the creating a new user. So I might start. Actually, I'm going to commit this. I guess I start to break stuff afterwards. So we add the post endpoint. What else we do? We have an in-memory DB. And we did another thing, which was handle missing user. Probably been better to commit this as we went. Basically copied from, and let me grab this URL. There. Okay, push upstream. Okay. Oops. So now that I've committed it, I can just start to tear this apart. So I don't want a user API. What I would like is I wonder if we should put this in the module, but for now, let's just stick it in here. We can move it later. So I want an environment API. Environment API. So this is going to be environments. So we'll have the same list endpoint. JSON and environment. So we better define that. So the type of environment is equal to, I'll just create a record, I guess, environment, and we'll have the NYD, which is a string. I'm going to say it's an ID, because then we can change the types later. So we can say it's not type, it's just data. So you can say the type ID for now will just be a string. but I can worry about later. I could make it a UUID or make it something other than a string. And we'll have a name, which is just a string in this case. Okay, so we can get the environments. Let me do the create endpoint first. So environments. So if we post to environments, we're going to grab the request body, which should be the JSON representation of an environment. And that's going to be a post created. Don't know what that means, post created. Like, it's a post request. What's the created mean here? Does it mean it responds with 2 to 1, or does it mean something special? I don't know. I should probably read some docs at some point. It's more fun to write the code and see what happens. Okay, we'll have an endpoint for getting a single environment. I guess. It's not really super useful, actually. So capture the ID, which is a string. And we will get the JSON representation of maybe environment. Okay, I'm just going to ditch my user API and we'll just deal with the stuff as it happens. Okay, yeah, we do need to derive those things for the environment, and we should probably set up some instances as well. Environment. Okay. So our database is going to be a tvar containing environment goodness, typing is so hard. I'm going to just change this back to data because I want to put a second field, and I'm going to put sort of last index, which is an int. Ooh, okay. Apparently that's the way I should format this. The type of application is the same. I will get rid of these users. Okay, and then we will rewrite this stuff so we won't have user in this case. We will have environment. So get environments. This should not be users. Did I call it users? I did. Excellent. Can I do this destructuring to just say environments? Yes, but it's not environments, is it? Because it's a tvar. Still don't know what P means in this context, why they called it P. Maybe if I understood something about STM, I would know that, but I don't, so I don't. Okay, we didn't find. Is there a find by? Oh, doesn't matter, I'll come back to it later. Not my problem right now. And this one, environment. Let me just write it for now, but I want to change this so that it generates the ID. In fact, let's just do that. So we can say last index. Oh, it's going to be a tvar. Otherwise, it would not be safe. I'm going to call it Q because I don't know what else to call it. So we can say something like last ID comes from read tvar io of q. Let's call this I. Okay, and then we will modify u. It's not u here, it's going to be e. E. So read tvrp and then we write it, but we will say id e. Is it n by d I. That's cool, but we also need to increment the ID. So I'm guessing we want to read Q and then write Q of ink. I don't know how that works. This environment API. Environment API. Okay, I need to rename these things. I've got so many errors that it's not giving me the interesting ones. He said not finding any errors in the file. There are some somewhere. Ooh. I don't really like that it's formatted this. I wonder if that's causing problems. Okay. No, it makes no difference. Okay. Oh, that's why. I think it actually got it wrong. I say it got it wrong. I got it wrong. So I need my duck face. I forgot to wear a mask. That was the problem. Okay, that's what I wanted, and that's why it malformatted it. So now we go down here, it should be better at giving us the errors. Cool. So we don't have identifier here. It is the invitee. And we won't call this users, we'll call this e's. I might call it m's actually, a bit clearer. Okay. So ink is not a thing, but suck is. Couldn't match type. Oh, okay. So we want to say read that. Okay. I can't call read because it might not be saved, so we could say from maybe. I can say let j is from maybe. We'll give it some default values, so I don't know, x for now. I'll worry about what that is, and then we can say, is it read maybe? Of I. Not read, it's show. Okay, I'm an idiot. Now these things are not in scope, so on this line we can find user and we can place environment. Okay, so couldn't match type environment, maybe environment. Interesting. So I swap my arguments around, or my endpoints around. No, take that. Okay. Initial users will be initial enms. No. Oh, there you go. Initial ems. It's that. This is not how state works, or it's not how DB works. It's got an extra argument. So initial IDX is new T4IO 0. There we go. Okay. So in theory, I can create some environments, just give them names, it should fill in the IDs, and then I should be able to list them. Let's see if it compiles, first of all. I'm getting ahead of myself. Why are we not using application? Or why were we using application? I'm just gonna, well, let's get rid of it. This application coming from servant now instead of having to put it from Y. Looks like it. Okay, so stack run. So now if you get this, it should be some 404. Yep. We get environment, it should be empty. So it's 200 but empty. So let's do this thing. Okay, so we're not going to use it, we're going to slash environments. And we will do, I think we can just say name dev. Interesting. Okay, so it wants the env-id to be present. So you have to look up how ASIN works to say skip this field or allow it to be empty. You can set it to X, it should ignore it. It did not. Well, it did ignore it. It gave me back the wrong thing. Because in the code, I'm returning E. In here, I'm returning E, but actually I've modified E up here. So I should probably do something like let E prime is E where the env-id is show I, and then we'll use not that, there, E prime there, and we'll return E prime. Okay, stop that. Right, again. So here, focus, there we go. I'm going to try posting that. Okay, get the ID of 0, which is cool. So let's create a new one. We'll call it test ID of 1. That's good. That's what I expect it to be. Oops. And we'll create a new one called staging. And then we should be able to list them. I wonder if I can look them up. I should be able to look them up. So if I look up 0, 1, no, okay. So this is possibly going to be a type thing. No. There's a 404. Okay. I don't know why I've got environment / one environments above. Yeah, this is 404. Not great. Okay. So environment 1, environment 0, environment 2, environment 3 is null. I'm not sure about this because we got 200k but null. I think this should be a 404. And then the other thing is that I'd like to not have to pass in the ID, the env ID here. I'd like it to just take the env ID without. I'd like it to take this record without me having to specify env ID. I don't know if there's a way of doing that. Well, I'm sure there is a way of doing it. Sorry, I don't know what the way of doing that is. However, I think I might quit while I'm ahead today. So this is change from users to environments. Change data model. And we also add auto incrementing IDs. So upstream, cool. I might call it an evening there. Yeah, because unusually I've got something working. So plan for next week, I think, is going to be look at how we can avoid having to specify this env ID. Maybe I don't know how that would work because I'll want to add it in from this auto incrementing thing. Maybe it can just leave it as being empty. Don't know. Could put maybe ID, but it shouldn't ever be missing. So I'll have to look into that. And then the other thing is I want to change the behavior of this maybe thing so that if we don't find it, then we will not return 200 and null, but we will return 404 and an empty response probably. Cool, so that's planned for next week. Yeah, well, thanks for watching. How do we end this? Oh, here, bye.